Good morning, everyone. And let me thank the OIS organizers for allowing Ocuphire to provide an update. I think it was a little over 3 years ago today, we presented for the first time to this community, and we have a lot to share. And they also gave us a couple more minutes since we have two assets, both for refractive and retina. And with that, as a public company, we're OCUP on the NASDAQ, so I will be making forward-looking statements. Ocuphire. Many of you hopefully now do know who we are, but a few of those that are new to the audience, I wanted to share our story. It's a company that I founded 4 years ago and actually went out and brought in two assets. Initially, Nixol eye drops out of Chicago. There were 5 clinical studies. It was early phase 2, and also out of Indiana/Japan, we brought in APX33, an oral tablet for the retina. What we're really proud of is in the last 2 years in particular, we have advanced Nixol from 5 trials to 12, 4 phase 3s in there, and 3 indications as a platform with Nixol, a pupil modulating drop. In the case of APX, we're really committed to the large unmet need in diabetic retinopathy and trying to provide an oral convenient option, and I'll tell you more about it. But first, there was some late-breaking news about 3 weeks ago on November 7th that affected us and other players in the industry. So we signed up for a global partnership with a new name for all of you, Viatris. You heard that a little bit yesterday in some of the panels. Viatris is the old Mylan combined with Pfizer's branded products Upjohn and rebranded to Viatris. About 2 years ago, they're about a $16 billion revenue company, and they have determined that they want to continue to move up from generics to branded prescription products, and they've selected ophthalmology as one of 3 pillars of growth. And I want to congratulate the Oyster Point team and Jeff and his team and the investors for being the foundational acquisition of Viatris. I think they built the 3rd largest sales force and obviously have their commercial dry eye products. So we're rooting for huge success, and they will also be our commercial partner. And in our case, we worked with FAMI, which is a business development sort of arm for Viatris, and they put a portfolio of ophthalmology drugs together, of which you can see we're sort of the next 3 in line as it relates to stage. And what's really exciting then for you in the field is you've got a new player with resources and a commitment for growth and innovation and commercialization, not just in the US, but around the world. For us, as Ocuphire, what it did, especially for those that listened to the bear market panel, it provided funding. We had some upfronts and funding for all of our development, both in the US and ex-US, so that's great. We have cash flow until into 2025. But in addition, it provided a US and a global commercial partner, which we were seeking, and it was very important to us. And maybe interestingly, one thing Viatris said on their November 7th conference call and press release was they wanted to create $1 billion in revenues by 2028 in the ophthalmology area. So obviously Oyster Point will contribute to that, but so will Ocuphire with Nixol in its first and hopefully more indications. These are huge markets that we're going after. Our markets are reversing dilation, 100 million dilations, presbyopia, over 100 million subjects. I'll talk more about some differentiation against Vuity and others, and night vision. We're the only ones going after that, trying to help those patients with halos and glares. So let's do Nixol first, and then I'll come to APX33. Nixol is a differentiated mechanism. We are the only ones that use the one muscle, the dilator muscle, versus the sphincter muscle, the only other muscle, to control your pupil. We do that because we're an alpha-1 blocker, and we can inhibit or relax that radial muscle. The sphincter muscle is used by pilocarpine or Vuity and actually everyone else in the class of cholinergic agonists that have presbyopia eye drops in the presbyopia landscape. Now, the unfortunate thing is that there are receptors that are actually also on the ciliary muscle, and that's actually what explains some of the known side effects of pilocarpine, for example, brow aches, headaches, blurry vision, dimming, contracting to too small of a pupil, and of course, most unfortunately, the risk of retinal detachment and really screening patients before giving them Vuity. So our product profile across 12 trials is that we've shown efficacy. We have a very nice, favorable safety profile, and actually we either have little or no impact on IOP. Actually, we actually reduce it. And what's differentiated is we have a 24-hour durability. So you can take our drug in the morning if you want, but we actually in our trials are giving it at night so that you're all-day coverage. We're also preservative-free. And I don't have time to go through all the data, but I want to say in reversal mydriasis, we met our primary endpoint. We rapidly reversed in 69 minutes, p-values less than 0.001. In presbyopia, single agent 30% efficacy p-value, with a combination of 0.4% low-dose pilocarpine, 60% efficacy statistics, and in night vision, which no one else has accomplished. We showed 3-line improvement in a dark room, low-contrast chart, which is the endpoint the FDA asked us to go after, and that was a phase 3. So very positive data, both on efficacy and, of course, also on safety. And in terms of where we're at, we are at the steps, the doorsteps of filing our NDA for the first indication, and we look forward to this package being the foundation for the follow-on packages and the other indications. So let's move to diabetic retinopathy and the retina. There are about 8 million diabetic patients in the United States, 1 in 4 diabetics, and right now the injections, Eylea, Lucentis, Avastin, are approved, or not Avastin, are approved for diabetic retinopathy, but not utilized because it is an earlier form of disease without vision loss. And if you're not compliant, you actually can make the disease worse. And so our objective with APX3030 is to offer a solution that doesn't exist today for these patients. And we're doing that through a novel mechanism. It's a target called REF1, which is redox effector factor 1, and it's a transcription factor regulator that sits upstream of both the HIF1 alpha and the NF-kappa B pathway. And what that does is provide an anti-VEGF and an anti-inflammatory dual mechanism. So we're novel that we're oral, and we're novel that we have a dual mechanism. It's also quite de-risked in that there were 11 trials that were completed across ASI and Apexion in healthy patients, liver patients, and cancer patients, all relevant to the underlying mechanisms here. And so what have we been doing? We've been up for 2 years in a phase 2B, well-controlled, randomized, double-masked, placebo-controlled, multi-center, 25 sites here in the United States, 100-patient study. We fully recruited earlier this year. Last patient, last visit was late August. We have guided our data readout, which could be quite disruptive to the field, will be early 2023. And we're looking at not only the Eylea-approved endpoint, which was the DRSS improvement, 2-step improvement, but we're also looking at other endpoints because as an oral, the opportunity to not only show improvement, but actually also show a lack of progression or maybe less vision-threatening disease might also be potential endpoints. So success for us is to be able to look at the data, design, and advance into phase 3. And we're also going to be collecting biomarkers, and since we're systemically treating with an oral diabetic patients, we're going to be looking at inflammation markers as well as some of the comorbidities of diabetics, such as kidney markers. Here's some data that you may not have all seen. So at our KOL event in October, we presented the demographics from this study on a masked or total basis. And just wanted to share with you that what you can see is this really nice representative group. They're about mid-50 years of age, 16 years diabetic. Half of them are basically moderately severe NPDR patients at a score of 53. Not too much vision loss and not too much fluid. So it'll be very interesting to see the data from this group. But we did present all year, from interim data in January to October, we have presented the masked safety data. And what I want you to take away is safety was the most important question many of you in the audience have asked us over the last 2 years, because it's an oral, and a couple orals over the last decade have tried and failed in retina, whether they were going after DME, wet AMD, or DR, due to liver and heart toxicities. We have none. We have no interesting side effects to talk to you about, and it's consistent with the hundreds of patients from the prior 11 trials. So we're really excited. This is masked, and of course, some of it will in the end be to placebo, and some will be to treatment. So this is the worst case, and it looks great. And so with that, I wanted to share that we are starting in diabetic retinopathy, but I was just at OSN New York as well a few weeks ago, and one of the big themes in retina was inflammation. You have to go beyond VEGF. And I think we're hopefully rightly positioned there, but also as a convenient oral to also address DME, wet AMD, maybe even GA. And so looking ahead, Ocuphire, we've done a lot. We're really proud. The team is small and mighty. And we had 6 positive data readouts in just the last 20 months on Nixal. We now have this commercial partnership and development funding. We are going to submit this NDA this quarter, and we will start our phase 3 program for presbyopia now that we have all the funding. So next year, besides the retina data readout, you'll just continue to see more advancement of the Nixal program, as well as where we decide to go next into phase 3 with the APX program. We are committed to disruptive innovation. We have an oral tablet for retina, treating diabetics, and we have everyday vision being addressed for the aging population. Thank you.